Let's talk about enthusiasm for practice. And no matter how you dice it, practice is just practice. And that goes for Dharma practice too. Enthusiasm for what, at least in the beginning, amounts to sheer rote practice must be some kind of oxymoron. If you aren't enthusiastic, where is it to be found? Where can you find enthusiasm? Well, I would have to ask you, how do you find joy right now in anything in your life? What gives you joy? Start there. That's a good place. People typically use a pebble or a stick for an object to focus on when they're learning basic shamatha meditation, and even more often just the breath itself. In themselves, these are not holy objects. You do get extra points for using an image of the Buddha, but that's beside the point. That there is no right object of meditation. We are welcome to pick any object that we love to work with and to concentrate on, especially if it helps. So make it easy on yourself. Of course, if we choose an object that we're very attached to and then focus on the attachment, how much we are attached to it or love it, that's not going to work. It's the familiarity with and the concentration involved in whatever technique we choose, that has to be our focus, rather than our attachment to it. Plus the fact that we're relaxed when we do it, if we like something, even though it may be complex. We're also free to choose something unrelated to sitting on the cushions to meditate, or any typical ideas of meditating. For me, it turned out to be photographing nature close up. I didn't plan it that way, but as it turned out, close-up and macro photography takes sufficient concentration practice to be similar to the techniques of basic sitting meditation. I happened to stumble on it, but you may have techniques that require concentration that you've learned many years ago and that you're already skilled at. Try using the basic meditation technique on those. For me, it was nature photography, as I pointed out. And the best part of it was that I felt at home with nature. I mean, even joyful. And that was very hard for me to do, or for me to come by in standard meditation practice while sitting on a cushion. Just consider, meditation practice was new to me. Not only that, but I had no true idea what was supposed to come out of my practice. Only whatever ideas that I had scrounged up from books, teachers, and other students. Mostly I was in the dark about it. But of course, I thought I knew what the results of meditation would be or should be. The truth is that few beginning meditation students have any real idea of what the fruition of meditation could be like. It's not our fault that we don't know, we just don't know. Is it any wonder then that I wasn't naturally filled with joy about practicing something I knew nothing about? It's the same way for me with practicing anything. By any definition, it's a trial, trying. For me, it was very trying. And like anything else that we must practice, a certain amount of enthusiasm is required to get any results. If you don't naturally have that joy, because you're on a steep learning curve, you may want to look at that fact and find another object of meditation, something you already know and love. You know, where the hard part, learning it, is already done. And no, I'm not suggesting that you give up sitting on the cushion, but if you are busy getting nowhere fast, as they say, then you might consider doing the identical sitting practice, but with the focus and technique that you already have skill in. In other words, a subject in which your learning curve is already over, so that you can concentrate with some kind of real joy on the practice itself. Make sense? We really should not blame ourselves if the routine part of learning meditation technique is boring, difficult, or something that we just find ourselves slogging through on faith that there's light at the end of the tunnel. The problem with this approach is that without some joy, some enthusiasm, it just may not work. Or if it works, the going is going to be very slow, like taking the long way round. Whatever we concentrate and focus on, the object in meditation, as I keep pointing out, requires at least some energy, some enthusiasm, if not actual joy on our part. Perhaps some of us can get it up for this without resorting to non-standard, to more familiar objects of focus. Just in my case, it didn't work. And the sad thing is that I tried it for decades. The memory of my faithfully practicing when I had no idea what I was looking for, what's enlightenment, of my practicing with a technique that was foreign to me and trying to keep my spirits up, it's painful even today for me to think of. As I like to say, if we learn to play an instrument, we can put on a CD and at least listen to the music. We can see what we're trying to accomplish. We can hear beautiful music, even if we can't play it yet, so that we know what we're trying to achieve. But with meditation, there are no DVDs or whatever that we can just play and get some clear idea what our eventual meditation result, enlightenment, realization, recognition, whatever, what's it going to be like? Nothing. It's all left up to our own expectations and hopes, which at best, as I pointed out, are a patchwork quilt. I mean, just where did we get our expectations? Ask yourself that. In my case, I simply had it wrong, and I had it wrong for years. The fact is that I was taught how to physically meditate, but no one explained what I should expect, at least not well enough to help. So, if your current meditation practice resembles a dry desert wasteland, mix it up by finding an object of meditation that you already care about. Let's face it, basic meditation technique involves concentrating on an object and bringing your mind to it when you find yourself getting distracted. That's the technique. While the breath is often suggested because of its portability and familiarity, any object will do, and we get to choose. For me, it helped to shake off the holier-than-whatever attitude that I had while sitting on a cushion, and especially the pie-in-the-sky expectations that I had as to what the result should be. In other words, you can do this with any discipline you already have mastered, like tying flies or building model airplanes, or any other craft that requires concentration and focus. Something that you will find out later in meditation is that we have to make ourselves at home and become comfortable with the procedure and the object of focus. We have to allow the mind to just rest. And that's what the technique is all about. That's the whole point. So you might as well start relaxing early and be comfortable now. A new and unknown situation just may not be useful. So look around in your life for something familiar that you already know and love. At least it worked for me. Meditation practice without enthusiasm is very difficult, if not impossible. And this is a little catch-22 that only we can solve. We may have to do whatever is necessary in order to have interest, enthusiasm, and preferably some joy in practice. And there's one more consideration. Even in traditional meditation technique, we become wedded to the technique of meditation on the cushion, and later have to learn to apply the technique to everyday life. It's in post-meditation, everyday life, that we eventually will spend most of our practice time. The baby is the meditation, and the bathwater is whatever object of meditation we choose, cushion, tying flies, playing chess, etc. At some time in the future, we each will have to separate the meditation that we learn from the particular object that we use to learn it through, so that we can meditate in whatever we do. In other words, we have to transfer the technique to whatever we do in life. As mentioned, I initially learned to meditate while shooting close-up photography. And yes, at a later date, I had to learn to separate out the meditation from the photography, and that took a while. But not as long, but it didn't take as long as never learning to meditate properly in the first place.